So in 4.1, we're going to be looking at slope, or we're going to be reviewing slope in the slope formula. So filling in this blank here for the definition. Slope, or rate of change, is a ratio of the change in y compared to the change in x. So when we're talking about a ratio, we're just talking about a fraction. So this would be like the change in y over this change in x, okay? That's what that definition means. Slope, or rate of change, is this change in y divided by the change in x. There are 4 types of slope. So our first one, as we look at this line is increasing as we look at it from left to right. So when we have an increasing function, this slope is going to be positive. Then this next line that we look at, well, this line is decreasing as we look at it from left to right. So if it's decreasing line, then its slope is going to be negative. All horizontal lines will have the same slope. Anybody remember? Come on. Horizontal lines are going to have a slope of 0. You did. Good. So horizontal lines are going to have a slope of 0, all of them. And then all vertical lines are going to have a slope that is undefined. All vertical lines are going to have a slope that's undefined. So last year, did your teacher ever draw Mr. Slope Guy? Anybody ever seen Mr. Slope Guy? If you're a visual person, Mr. Slope Guy, I'll draw the little circle for his face. Maybe not a great circle, probably should have drawn it a little bigger. Then his eyes are a positive and a negative sign. And his eyebrows, that positive eyebrow is going to be increasing. And then that negative eyebrow is going to be decreasing. Okay, so we've got our increasing line has a positive slope, decreasing line has a negative slope. Then his nose is a vertical line. And to make his nose, we're going to draw like a U shape. So that's going to remind us that all of our vertical lines, this bottom part of the nose is a U. So all of our vertical lines have a slope that is undefined, and that's what that U is for. And then his mouth is going to be our horizontal line, and he's going to have these 2 little dimples. And those 2 little dimples remind us that our horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. So think about Mr. Slope Guy. He's especially helpful for horizontal and vertical. He might not be as helpful for positive and negative because those are easy, but he's very helpful for horizontal lines have a slope of 0 and vertical lines have a slope that's undefined. Okay? Now, when we are finding our slope, when we're finding slope from 2 points, remember, points are always x comma y. So we can take 1 point, and this would be x1 and y1, and then our second point would be x2 and y2. And we're going to plug them into this formula that I know you guys have used before. This is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So anytime we're given 2 points like this, we are going to be plugging them in to this slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so we're going to jump down into the practice, and we're going to do the couple problems where they've given us 2 points, and we're going to practice using this formula. So number 1, we've got our 2 points, 1, 1, and 4, 3. So again, remember, points are always x and y. X and y. Coordinate points are always x comma y. And then I can just say this is point 1 and this is point 2. So then if my slope formula, m, equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All I have to do now is take the number that I've labeled y2, y1, x2, x1, and plug them into this formula. So my y2 was 3. So I'm going to plug that in first so that I've got 3 minus y1. And I labeled y1 was 1. So 3 minus 1 divided by x2. And my x2 is 4 minus my x1, which is 1. Now that I've plugged everything in, I can do the subtraction and then simplify if I need to. What's 3 minus 1? 2. 4 minus 1? 3. 2/3, we cannot do 2 divided by 3, right? If you do 2 divided by 3, you get a repeating decimal, so we don't want that. So we're just going to leave it. We can't reduce it at all, so that's our slope, 2/3. If it doesn't divide evenly and we can't reduce it, then that's our simplest form and we can leave it like that. All right? Let's do number 2. Our points are -2, 4, and 10, -2. So again, let's label them. This is x and y. This is x and y. I can label this as my 1s, and then I can label this as my 2s. Our formula for slope, I'm going to write it every time. y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So my y2 is -2. So I'm going to do -2 minus y1, which is 4, divided by x2, which is 10, minus, now be careful here, because x1 is a -2. So I have to minus a -2. That minus sign doesn't act as the negative. We have to minus a negative. And what happens mathematically when we minus a negative? It becomes a plus, right? Good. When we minus a negative, it really becomes a plus. So that would become 10 plus 2 in the denominator. But let's do the numerator first. What's -2 minus 4? -6. And then what is 10 plus 2? 12. Six is not going to divide evenly by 12. But it can be reduced by bigger than that. What can 6 and 12 both be divisible by? Bigger than that. 6. 6 and 12 are both divisible by 6. So if we divide the numerator by 6, we're going to get 1. And 12 divided by 6 is 2. So this slope is going to reduce to a -1/2. Guys, because there is one negative in the fraction, this means the entire slope is negative. So the negative sign, it doesn't matter if it's in the numerator or the denominator or if it's just out front. If there's only one negative, this line is decreasing. The slope is negative. Okay? All right, we're going to do one more together, and then I'm going to have you try that fourth one with your partner. So this time we have a table. This table has 4 points. We only need 2. It does not matter which 2 points you pick, because as long as we all reduce our slope, we're all going to get the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and just choose these first 2. So this first point is 0, 3. And then this second point has an x of 1 and a y of 11. So this is the point 1, 11. So this is our x and y. And we can say this is my 1 and this is my x and y 2. Now we can plug them into that slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my y2 is 11 minus my y1, which is 3, divided by my x2, which is 1, minus my x1, which is 0. So now that it's all set up, we can go ahead and do the subtraction. 11 minus 3 is 8. 1 minus 0 is, and 8 divided by 1 is 8. All right, time for you and your partner to try. You've got another table. This table has 5 points, but once again, you only need 2. So you can pick whatever 2 you'd like. I'm going to set the timer for about 2 minutes. And ready, go. All right, let's see how we did here. So I picked the point 614 and 912 because I saw the negative sign in this point and I was like, maybe not. If you chose negative 320, again, no matter what 2 points you chose, your slope should have reduced down to a negative 2 over 3. So I saw some people that had like a negative 6 over 9, and then they reduced it and got negative 2 over 3. Same thing. When I used these 2 points, I did my y2, which is 12, minus my y1, which was 14, divided by the 9 minus 6. 12 minus 14 was my negative 2, and 9 minus 6 is 3. So again, we have one negative, which makes the entire slope a negative 2/3. All right, so any questions on using that formula? Okay, then we're going to go through the quicker part now. Up at the top, when we are finding the slope from a graph, this is a lot easier because we don't have to do like a math formula. If we're given a graph of a line, all we need to do to find the slope is find that ratio of rise over run. So really we're just like counting the grid lines on our graph. So in this example, we've got this increasing line and I've given you 2 points already. So what we're going to do with these 2 points is we are going to draw a right triangle that is going to connect those 2 points because that right triangle is going to allow us to count our rise and our run from one point to the next. So our rise from this point to where we turn the corner here is going to be 1, 2. So we have a rise of 2. And then to count our run, we will start from this corner, and then we'll count to the point that we were given. So 1, 2, 3 units. So the run is 3 units. So that means that M, our slope, is 2 over 3 because our ratio for slope is rise over run. So you're finding 2 points on your graph, you're drawing a little right triangle, and you're counting that rise over run. All right? So now let's go down to number 5. This time, we have a line that's decreasing. So when I draw my right triangle, when I have a line that's going down, is I like to go down and then right. Because going down reminds me that it's a negative rise. You don't have to. Your right triangle could be on the other side. But just make sure when you count your run, you count it as a negative 1, 2. So I go down 3 and then over 1. If that line is decreasing, it better have a negative slope. So that means my slope, my M, is negative 3 over 1, which is also the same thing as just negative 3, right? Good. Negative 3 divided by 1 is just negative 3. The next one, we have a horizontal line, and Mr. Slope Guy's mouth tells us that all horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Very good. So that one's easy. Then We've got an increasing line. And again, these points are already given to you on your homework. They are not already given to you, so you're just going to have to find 2 points on that line that you can count rise over run. This line's increasing, so I'm going to go up and right. So I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 1, 2, 3. I have that positive slope of 2/3. That can't be reduced. We can't divide 2 divided by 3, so we're just leaving that as the fraction 2/3. All right, second to last one. I have another line that's decreasing. So since it's decreasing, we're going to have a negative slope. And again, when I draw my right triangle, I like to go down and right, because for me, that down triggers like I need to make sure that I write my slope as a negative. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So down 6, so -6. And then over 1, 2, 3. So my slope is -6/3. And -6, when I divide that by 3, I get -2. Very good. So that has a slope of -2. Yep. And our last one, nice and easy. Mr. Slope Guys knows, helps us with this last one. It's a vertical line, which means the slope is undefined. Beautiful. Okay.